Alright, today we're going to finish up chapter 5. We're looking at lesson 6, which is graphing inequalities on a coordinate plane. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of things that are similar to when we just graphed inequalities last chapter using slope-intercept form. The only difference is now we have an inequality, so we have to talk about solid and dotted lines when we graph, and then we'll talk about shading. Okay, so I'm going to give you the rules for that first. When we graph, if you have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, you're going to use a solid line. If it's just less than or greater than, you're going to use a dashed line. Okay, then we're going to use a test point, which would be any ordered pair on the graph. And we'll use that to determine which half of the plane should be shaded. Yep.
Was that or what? Or, yeah.
Ordered pair.
Ordered pair?
Oh.
In the parentheses?
Oh, no. We thought it was or in another one.
Ordered.
Okay, and then we shade the half of the plane that contains the solution. Alright? Now, just as a reminder, even though we're not using an equal sign, it'll be an inequality, but we still want things to be in the form y equals mx plus b. Why? Because then we could just plot the ordered pair at the y-intercept and use rise over run, our slope, to graph quickly. Okay? So, remember, b is your y-intercept, m is the slope. Wait just a second so everybody gets that written down, and then we'll go. Listen, I understand when we go through this at first, like you're kind of like, I'm not sure about this. As soon as we start doing it, you're going to understand, and you'll be able to move through it pretty quickly. Okay? It's not too bad. Anybody still writing that down? Okay, here we go. Alright, first one we're going to look at is y is greater than x plus 12. Okay, so remember when we graph using slope-intercept form, the first point we always put on is our y-intercept. What is my y-intercept here? 12. Okay, so I'm going to go straight up the y-axis till I get to 12. Okay, my first point goes at 12. Then I use rise over run from that point, my slope, use the slope to graph 2 more points. What is my slope here?
What?
Well, it's the number in front of x, 1. My slope is 1, right? Remember, a lot of us are getting confused. Slope can't be a variable. Slope is the number in front of x, so it's just 1, okay? So, from the point I just graphed, what direction am I moving?
Right. Or up.
Rise over run.
Up one.
Up 1, and then
To the right one.
to the right 1. Put a point. From there, I go up 1 again, over 1. Okay, now, before I just draw a line through that, remember we talked about at the beginning, it's either going to be a dotted line or a solid line. Which one would I have here? Dotted, because it doesn't have the equal sign. Okay, so that line goes all the way across my graph. Then I have to determine, am I going to shade everything below the dotted line or everything above? Now, sometimes it's easy to tell just by looking at your inequality, right? It says y is greater than this, so if it's greater than, do you think we're going to shade above or below? Above, but we're going to check it every time with an ordered pair. What would be the easiest value ordered pair to plug in for x and y? I'm giving you a hint. 0, 0, okay? The only time I don't want you to use 0, 0 is if your line crosses through the origin. Then you're going to have to choose an ordered pair. Can you choose any ordered pair on this graph?
Yes.
Yes, you can plug, if you want to plug in 10, 10, you can, okay? I'm just saying 0, 0 is going to be the easiest one to plug in, okay? So, somebody tell me, if I replace y and x with 0 and 0, what would that give me? Okay, that would give me 0 is greater than 0 plus 12. What is 0 plus 12? Is 0 greater than 12?
No.
So my test point here was false. That means I'm not going to shade where I tested the point. I shade on the other side. So everything up here, like you guys told me at the beginning, is going to get shaded. Now, if you wanted to go back and check and choose a point up here, you could, right? I'm not going to require you to do that, but even if you chose like 0, 13, that would help you, because then you would get 13 is greater than 12, so you know this point up here is true. Okay? But basically, if you'll just choose 0, 0 if you can, if it's true, shade where 0, 0 is at. If it's false, shade on the other side of the line. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, let's do another one.
Do we have to check it or
Do what?
we have to do like the test?
Because sometimes people get confused by that, and especially depending on which way the line is. Like the next one, you'll kind of see a little bit. Okay, let's look at y is less than or equal to negative 4x plus 12. Okay, anybody want to tell me how to graph it? Go for it, Nate. Right, so we always start with that y-intercept. It sits at the end if it's in slope-intercept form, okay? Then you're going to use your slope, rise over run. What is my slope?
You go 1 to the left. Oh, it's negative 4 over 1.
Okay, so rise over run. That top number tells you to move up or down. Which direction?
Down.
So down how many?
4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then over to the left 1.
Over to the left.
Oh, right.
And then down 4 again, over 1. Okay, here's an easy way to tell. If you draw this line through, does that show a negative slope? Yes. Let's say you accidentally went down 4 left 1, down 4 left 1, and your line went this way. You should think, I did something wrong because my slope is positive, but in my equation it's negative. Okay, so just check those things. Nate, would it have a solid or dotted line? Okay. Now, last thing, we just have to decide where to shade. Same thing. Can I use 0, 0 here? Yeah, because my line doesn't go through that. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y, 0 for x, and then see if it's true or false. What's negative 4 times 0? 0 plus 12. So is 0 less than or equal to 12? Yes. So I'm going to shade where that point is at, everything on this side. What that means is any point where you shaded will make the equation true, right? What happens to all the points on the other side? They would make your equation false or your inequality false. Okay, anybody still writing that one down? Okay? What do you think, Nick?
Like, are we doing the graph?
We're going to, but is there something you would want to do first?
I don't know. Like, 22, I don't know.
What is it, Reno?
You subtract 2x.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why? What form is it in right now?
A,
Standard. I mean, it should be all divided by 2, but yes, it's in standard form. So we want to change it to slope-intercept form. Then what?
Divide by 2.
Okay, what would that give you?
Y is less than negative 1x, or is negative
Okay,
plus 9.
good. Okay, Nick, you want to go now? Yeah, so if it's not in slope-intercept form, we got to put it in that form first, so we can use our slope and y-intercept. Okay?
you know what, man?
All right.
Down one to the right one.
Say that again.
Down one, and then to the right.
Good, because my slope is -1, or -1 over 1. So down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Okay? What type of line would you have here?
Dotted.
Dotted line, because it's just less than. Okay? And then what's going to be my last step, Nick?
Plug in 0, 0 first.
Good, yeah, I can use 0, 0. Now, I would always plug it back into the original. Okay? So I'm going to do 2 times 0 plus 2 times 0 less than 18. What do I know this whole side's going to give me?
0.
Is 0 less than 18?
Yes.
So I shade where the point is at. Okay, somebody else want to try this one? Didn't you already go, Nate? Come on. Surely somebody in this room that doesn't always answer wants to try one today.
I'll go again. We never answer.
Taya?
I have a problem.
Come on, Tyler, let's do it.
It's not pronounced
You can do it. I will help you if you need help. What should you always check about your equation, Taya? Okay, is it?
No.
Okay, so we want it to be in that form y equals mx plus b. So what's the only thing you have to do? Move what?
The 2x.
Good. How do I do that?
Subtract it.
All right. So you would get y is less than what?
Negative 3 minus 2.
Switch those.
Minus 2x. Minus 3.
Good. Negative 2x minus 3. Because if you put negative 3 minus 2x, then it's not in the form mx plus b. It would be b plus mx, right? So x always goes first. Okay? So now that it's in that form, you can graph. What's the first point you're going to put on your graph, Taya?
Negative 2.
Is negative 2 your y-intercept?
No.
Where do you always find your y-intercept?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So what's the first point you put on your graph? What is it?
Negative 3.
There we go. Yeah, I goofed on my graph. I should have moved this up higher, but it's fine. We can do it. Okay? All right, what's your slope?
Negative 2.
So from this point I just put, I'm going to go where?
Down 2.
And,
Right 1.
okay. Now, notice on the graph I made, I ran out of room. So does anyone know what I could do?
You go up. Up
You
to
can
the
go
opposite
You
of
can
left
go
one.
up, but go left.
Okay, so go back to the first point you put, and you could go up to left 1. Okay? All right? And then what type of line would I have here? Solid or dotted?
You have
What? Okay? Alright, Taya, my last step is to choose an ordered pair. Okay? Alright, so we're going to plug it back into the original. 2 times 0 plus 0 less than negative 3. So, 2 times 0 is what? 0 plus 0. Is 0 less than negative 3?
Yes. Wait, no, not.
No. Okay? It's not, so I don't shade where 0, 0 is. Where should I shade then?
You're gonna shade above it. Wait, no, you're gonna shade on the other side.
On the other side, where it's not. If it's false, you shade on the other side, where the point's not located. Okay? Alright, last one. Anybody in that last row want to do this one?
I'm the last row.
Come on.
Me.
It's going to be one of you three.
I vote Lexi.
Alright, Lexi. What good friends you have. Okay. Alright, Lexi, what's the first thing you should always do when you look at that inequality? See if it's in what? Okay, is it? Okay, fix that for me. Alright, if you subtract 8x, you will get y is greater than or equal to what? 8x? There we go. Y minus 6. What sign's in front of the 6? Right here. So it should be positive. The only reason it would be minus 6 is if this was a negative 6, right? Because you're not actually subtracting 8x from it, you're putting that negative 8x in the front. Okay? Alright, go ahead and graph for me. Why am I going up 6? And that is my what? Good. My y-intercept is 6. Always sits at the end. Okay? Then what am I going to do next? Good. Same thing. From that point, down 8. And right 1. Alright? Solid or dotted line? Try hard not to mess this one up. Okay, now, since that line is so close to 0, 0, I want you to choose a different ordered pair for me, Lexi. You can choose anything that's like over here, anything over here. I don't care what it is, but I want it to be one that's not so close to the line. 4, 6. Okay, so we're plugging in 4 for x and 6 for y. I should have written that here. 4, 6. Okay, I'm going to put that point. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing that so we know that's the point we picked. So we'll know if we should shade there or not shade there. Okay? All right, what is negative 8 times 4? And what's negative 32 plus 6? Okay? Is positive 6 greater than or equal to negative 26? Yes, so it's a true statement, so I shade where the point is at, everything on that side. Okay, how do we feel about this?
Yeah.
Okay? Alright, remember every time the things you gotta check. Make sure it's in slope-intercept form first. After you graph, check dotted or solid line, and then always do your test point. Okay? I will give you graph paper today.
Oh, I already started.
Sorry, Lexi.
On this one? On 14.
You look cool.